Thanks for joining us. Today we're here with Michelle McDaid from Crusaders Strikers. We're up at Seaview today in our S&C department, and we kind of have a different player today. So Michelle has a dual role within the club. So she's a player and a coach. So she's our S&C coach. And today we're just going to ask her a couple of questions. So Michelle, getting started in football, talk us through kind of when you started playing football, your earliest memory and who got you into football. Was there anyone that kind of inspired you into getting into it?
I actually started football a wee bit late in primary school, like 5th or 6th class, which is like P7,
okay.
I'm going to say. And it was my PE teacher and my P7 teacher. They kind of, I used to play, I was a real tomboy, like, so I used to play with the boys in school at lunchtime, and then like actually realised like I could actually compete with the boys. And then our PE teacher was one of my friends from school's daddy, so he asked me to play for the boys team in school, and then from there he like got me to do like Inishowen trials, which was kind of like counties up here.
Class, yeah.
And then from there just never really looked back. So
you would say it's kind of your PE teacher got you into football then? Yeah, quite late on. Obviously, like kids these days are kind of starting around 4 or 5, which is so great, obviously, for how much the women's game's grown. Do you think that kind of had an impact on you, starting kind of late on, as you say, in P7?
It definitely did when I see what kids get nowadays. If I look back on the opportunities that were in Donegal then, probably not so much, because even whenever I look at like the NI setup and the like elite setup within like kids, now it's completely different. Whereas like I wasn't even taught how to open up with a ball in the back foot until I was like 17. So it definitely, like when I compare back then to now, the change is massive. Like the opportunities kids have now is like different level. Yeah,
you obviously spoke there about being from Donegal. So what was kind of the first club you played for?
I played for my wee local club, the boys team. It was called Dunree, which is where I'm from. And I played for them until I was like 13. And then I moved up to, like, there was no girls team in that club. So then I moved up to like what would you say, like the best girls team in the that area.
In that area,
and I played for them. They were called the Illies. I played for them, and we played against Science Swifts in the Foyle Cup. And that kind of led me into...
Is that a big rivalry round there, is it?
Not really. In Foyle Cup it would have been a rivalry, but Sion was... I think Sion won the Foyle Cup like every year. But it would have been us and them in the final a few times anyways. And then when I played for Sion, we played against the Illies in the Foyle Cup final as well. So
who won then? Sion, obviously. Cool. And then obviously, how many years did you spend at Sion then, from then?
I signed for Sion when I was 17. I'm pretty sure I played for them 4 or 5 years. Because then I came down to Belfast for uni. And then once I was here, it was too hard because I was still working at home at the weekends. So it was too hard to be a student and travel up and down the road for training and then still go home at the weekends. So it was kind of like a sacrifice that I had to make that decision to stay in Belfast. And then COVID happened. And then I went back to Sion. And then I came back to Belfast.
So whenever you then obviously moved off to Belfast, it's a lot to obviously travel down to Sion every week. What kind of club did you then move to from there?
So whenever I left Sion, I signed for Cliftonville. And I wasn't there for a full season because COVID happened and then football stopped. And I moved home. So I played for them maybe half a season. And then whenever COVID happened, I moved home and I was home for 2 years, and there was no football at all. So I actually took up Gaelic then at home for a season.
Very good.
And then, I went back to Sion whenever I was at home when football started again.
Cool. Obviously then you were up here. What were you studying in uni at the time?
I was studying sports science.
Okay, which is obviously now plays such a big role in everything that you do, kind of in your everyday job, football. You completed your personal training course then up in Belfast.
Yep.
Talk me a wee bit through that.
So when I was in final year, I decided that it would be a great idea to
so if you don't have enough going on,
start another course, which was meant to be central. So in first semester of final year, I done my PT course in ECA, which was the gym that I ended up working for 3 years after that. So really, ECA really kicked off my coaching career. I finished it went on for, was it 6 or 9 months, the part-time courses? And then I got offered a job in there straight after. And like at the time when I was doing my course, I was like doing my course, working a job and shadowing in ECA. So I was getting up at like 5 a.m. to go shadowing before uni.
While trying to do your whole dissertation.
Doing my dissertation and then leaving uni and going to work. So it was a bit chaotic.
And were you playing football at that time for any club?
Yes, I was. I was playing for Lisburn.
Okay. And then obviously uni football as well?
Yep.
Yeah. How did you find trying to fit all that in?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely madness. But it taught me a lot now whenever I look back. One, that you need to have boundaries, and sometimes you don't need to have everything right now. There has to be a process, and sometimes it's okay to play the long game, but it also showed me that when you really put your mind to something, no matter how it sounds really cliche, like, but that was a really hard time to try and manage everything, and it can affect everything in your life when you let one thing kind of get on top of you. But I got out the other end of it, and here I am now, so I have no regrets or anything. You spoke obviously about playing for the boys team whenever you were younger, up until about 13. Must have been very physical. Well, I suppose at that age, like, I never really thought much of it.
I got stuck in.
I just got stuck in. I was always small and nippy. And I always, like, whenever I was that young, your speed, whenever there wasn't a massive difference in physicality, your speed always kind of helped you. Do you know what I mean? But then it was actually whenever I got into like my teenage years, when everyone was a wee bit more physical and stuff, I was tiny. Like my mum said to me, you didn't fit into a football pitch until you were like 18. You could always pick you out because you were the wee
smallest one.
So not so much then. I actually went back, like the team that I signed for after that, I played for the boys team in that club as well. And we went to England on a trip and played like a few English teams and stuff. Then you would have seen the difference in the physicality. But in the younger, in the really like 11, 12 years, I wasn't too bad.
Whenever you were younger then, obviously growing up through football, we were talking about kind of the opportunities that girls have now in terms of S&C. I know whenever I was growing up, there wasn't as much as of an emphasis on S&C in terms of football. It was just kind of, you did your fitness out in the pitch, you were out running and you were doing your ball work. But obviously now there is such an emphasis on gym work too. What kind of got you into that now? Obviously you're our S&C coach for Crusaders, and you play as well. So what kind of importance do you think that has on the game nowadays, obviously with it growing so much?
Well, like as I kind of said earlier, like I was always tiny, and I felt like in Donegal there was such a lack of help. And that's not just in the S&C department. That, like as I said, I didn't learn how to open up on the back foot until I was like 17. So just in general, I think like a lot of the coaches back then were male coaches, and there was no information out there on how to actually get better. So I leaned into what I was good at. I was always athletic. I was always fit. I was always fast. So I leaned into that, and I was going to the gym since I was like 14, 15. Didn't have a notion what I was doing. I was just going in and lifting weights and hoping for the best. And then that sparked a real interest for it and wanting to get better. And then before I went to uni, I went to Tech, and I done sports science there as like a BTEC. And that's when I really started to like learn about the gym and what you should do to make yourself better and get better. And like it didn't happen overnight, but like the difference from me whenever I was 17 and first signed for Cyan, I was like that thick. compared to me now. Like the physicality that I've grown and got since then has helped me massively as a player.
Michelle, so match day routine, getting ready for a match. Do you want to kind of talk us through the process you would go through as the team's S&C coach of what we go through on a match day to kind of get ready for a game?
Yeah. So firstly, we'd all come out and we'd start off in activation. So we'd go with the bands. Okay. Do you want me to take you through it now?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
So you go with the bands.
Yeah.
We always start off at the knees first. So band goes around the knees. And then we just work through it. So mostly firing up the legs and the glutes. So we go squats first. And we always start off with like 10 to 12 squats.
Cool.
Then we move on, we go down round the ankles. Soft bend at the knees. And then you're going to go step forward, step out to the side, step back. And we usually go 5-6 times on each leg.
Cool.
Then we all step round to the side. And then again, always keeping that wee bit of a sit down like a quarter squat. Big step out, small step in. You never want to take the feet together because you always want that wee bit of tension on the glutes, tension on the band. And then kind of just going at a different angle. We go lateral steps. And then we go lateral steps backwards. And by this stage, the glutes should be
activated.
Then we kind of move on to leg kicks, so just a wee bit of resistance on them. So you're going to start to get the hip flexor warmed up as well. And then back to the glutes, you can go backwards and you'll get those like donkey kicks. And then last one we usually do with the bands is we go around our feet. So band goes around the laces. And then really just firing up the hip flexors again. So I usually drive the knee up, hold for a couple of seconds and trying to get like some sort of mechanics in there as well. So everyone's up tall, holding, and then control back down. Then the hip flexors should start to fire up as well.
Okay, perfect.
After we do the bands, we then go into a wee bit of mobility. Biggest priorities for me is hips and spine, really. So usually start off hips and spine together, so deep lunge rotation, opening up the hips, so you'll get a bit of hip flexor here, doing their hand to their ear or the side of their head. So then you're going to go T-spine rotation, so you reach down as low as you can, and then open up and follow your shoulder with your eyes, so you're trying to look over the shoulder. And we usually go 6 to 8 reps on each side. Then start to get the hamstrings and the hip flexors again, so leg out in front. Sit back, be controlled. So some people sometimes they sit way back and they're actually not getting their hamstrings. So you're kind of thinking of a hinging motion with the hips. Sit back, you get that big stretch all up the back, pointing your toe up so that you're stretching the whole leg. And then rock forward and you're starting to get the hip flexors. And most of our mobility stuff, I like to keep them moving, not just static stretches. Then we usually go out to the side, get the groins and all up the inside of the leg. Sit back, nice and controlled again. Nothing is like really fast here. You're trying to find the stretch. And then rock forward into the hand. So again, you're not holding it for too long. You're keeping moving. And you would do, again, 6 to 8 on each side. And then we go 90-90s. So get everyone to get a 90-degree angle at both legs here. Most important thing here is you start with the leg out to the side. Most important thing for me, start with the leg out to the side so that you're always keeping a good distance between your knees. So the leg that's out to the side, keep your hands up, shoulders back, and then you hinge open, so you lift the knee up as far as you can. Then when you get to that point where you can't go anymore, you want to imagine you're trying to keep your knees as far apart as you can. So you start to move your hips around, your body around, while still keeping the knees apart. And then come right around, nice and controlled. You might feel a few wee cracks in the hips. And then coming back around again, keeping that 90-degree angle at the knees. Usually go 5-6 each way.
Okay, cool.
I usually give everyone a wee second or a few minutes to kind of do any areas that they feel tight and do whatever they kind of like doing themselves. And then we get everybody into our lines and we start like our more dynamic movements, building up into jumps and then building up into our sprints and our sharp turns and kind of reactions. And then after that, everyone is ready to go into the passing and hopefully feeling good.
Yeah. What do you think the kind of benefits of doing warm-ups like that are nowadays?
I think, like, back in the day, like, you just jogged across the pitch or went a lap, and then you were expected to kind of go on and hit the ground running. I think the benefits now is that, one, it prevents injuries. You're getting, you're literally working through every part of the body and trying to make sure that you have balance, you have stability, the muscles are actually warm, they're ready to sprint. On your jumps and stuff too, you're producing power. So you're actually trying to get yourself ready for the demands that you're going to go onto the pitch for. Whereas before, you used to just go a wee jog and then it would take you half an hour to get into the first half. So I would say, one, obviously injury prevention, but two, also like, you're getting into the game quicker because you're ready for it.
How important is that in the game nowadays? I mean, compared to, say, 2017, whenever you joined Sion, do you think the game's progressed now where it is more competitive and it's so important to be starting at minute 1 of the match rather than, as you say, 30 minutes in, whenever you're still trying to mentally and physically prepare to actually play such a big game?
100%. I think, I was actually talking about this today to another coach, but I was talking about the difference in the league, how much it's grown since 2017 to now. Like, everyone's stronger, everyone's faster, everyone's more technically gifted, everyone's more tactically gifted. You can see in the higher, like, the teams that are really top teams in the league, like, they have all their 1%ers down to a T. And like, we've kind of learned from experience too that, like, it's not good enough to start in the 60th minute of a game. There's been some games where we've started off really slow, and then all of a sudden in the 60th minute we start to kick on, but it's too late. So I think you need to be doing all the things that you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen, and it doesn't guarantee anything, but the way that the league's going now is, like, the competition is just getting better and better, and the players are just getting better and better, so everyone in the league needs to be doing the extra stuff because it's not enough anymore just to turn up to training.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to talk us through some of the exercises you would do then in the gym with the team on a night before training, for example, rather than actual match night? Okay, Michelle, so do you want to talk us through kind of a typical primer session you would do with the team before you went out onto the pitch for a training session?
Yeah, sure. So typically the way that I kind of run my sessions, and that can just be adapted, whether it's one person you have or that's a whole team. But I kind of always follow the format of, you get warmed up first, kind of like we done with the match day warm up. Nothing really needs to change that much. Then I go into, like, our power exercises, so our jumps and our plyos. Then if we're out in the pitch after, I would generally go for, like, upper body strength, and some maybe lower body isometrics, so you're still kind of getting that work in the lower body, but you're not so much, like, putting a lot of demand on the muscles. So, like, typically if I went through a wee rotation of our jumps, you could go, so I always like to include some sort of single leg stuff. So single leg plate pogos, pretty much keeping up on the ball of the foot, trying to keep the ankle off the ground and keep the ankle stiff. So you're really engaging the calves and you're getting that ankle stiffness coming in, coming out. And as people kind of get, like, more into it, they can start to get quicker. So usually I'm always like, start off slow, get your rhythm first, and then go and get nice and quick, short ground contacts on that. I obviously, talking from my own experience, have just come back from an injury. So something for me before I go out in the pitch is including something to kind of load up my obliques, my muscles on the side of my abs, because I want it to be ready whenever I go out onto the pitch. The same if someone had a hamstring strain. I would want them to be doing some sort of hamstring work before they go out. Nothing heavy, just something to sort of load the muscle to get it fired up and ready to go. So, like, something for me that I've been doing recently is, when I injured my oblique, from talking to the physio, they think it was whenever I got that contact from the tackle, it was the way that I rotated off the player then. So something that I've been doing recently now is, like, plate wood chops.
Yep.
So like starting here, rotating down into it, and then coming up above the head, and just getting that rotation into the muscle without straining it too much.
Yeah.
Putting a wee bit of load on it, so that whenever I go out and I do that kind of rotation and at force, my body's already felt it whenever I was in here.
Yeah.
And then say, for example, if we were doing a wee bit of upper body work, could go for a bench press. You could go for, one of the big things for me is everyone should be able to control their own body weight.
Yep.
So press up.
Yep.
Simply coming up into this position, making sure that your core is strong. So I always say to people, you know, imagine your press up as a plank to start with. You've got to stay in that plank position. Keep the elbows tucked in, elbows go back, chest to the floor, and then big strong press up.
Okay.
So, and then usually, depending on the time you have, between 2 and 4 rounds.
Okay. And you were obviously talking about there your own injury that you have. So obviously it's not just kind of primer sessions that you're obviously trying to do. You are trying to come up with sessions for players that are maybe injured in that as well. How important is the strength and conditioning work for those injured players as well?
Like for me, really, really important. I was told whenever I first got injured that it would be like a minimum of 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was like minimum. And I've like from the day, literally the day after I got injured, I was trying to test to see what I could do.
Yeah.
And it's okay for me because I had an understanding of how the muscles work, what happens whenever you rotate, what happens when you're pressing, like am I activating my oblique? But for someone who isn't in this industry and doesn't have the support of an S&C coach or a physio, then you're feeling in the dark, or you're trying to find your way in the dark and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there was things that I done, I was like, oh, that was a wee bit too much.
Yeah.
But it's really important that you have the support from someone who knows your body and knows how the body works. And like I played my first minutes there on Monday, which was less than 5 weeks after my injury. So for me, like I worked really hard to get back. And I know other people who's had injuries and they just think that like rest will heal it, whereas your injury happened because of a weakness. Some of them happen just out of sheer bad luck. But there's always something there that you have to strengthen up again. And if you don't, the pain might go away, but the weakness won't.
And you were saying then, obviously you worked for ECA, which is a personal training company up in Belfast. What do you do now then? What's kind of your plans in terms of S&C?
So I worked in ECA for 3 years. Loved it, really, really loved it. But a lot of it was with clients who want to lose weight. And while I was working there, I got my role as like sports scientist in the NI under 17 setup.
Cool.
And that kind of gave me that wee bit of, it showed me how good it was to help players who were like me. I felt like there wasn't anyone that I could look up to back then whenever I was 15, 16 and needed that guidance and help. And whenever I went into that role, I realised that that's what I want to do. Like like those teenage players, you see the most growth in that age group. So like I want to be someone who can grow a business and work with elite level athletes and take them from something that's just a dream and turn it into reality. And I had the pleasure of seeing that happen to Abby Smith, who came to me before she was going to Man City, or before she went to Man City, sorry. And I got to help with her preparation to go. And now I get to watch that happen, and it's the same with Chloe. Like that, those two kids had a dream and now it's turned into reality, and even just to be a tiny part of that is really rewarding.
We were talking earlier about how competitive the league is now and how much it's growing, and you've just touched on it there about elite athletes. As the league is growing so much, how important do you think it is now? It's them wee minimal 1% changes that you could be making, so example doing your S&C work to kind of prevent those injuries from happening, as you say, if there's weaknesses. Do you think that's so important nowadays, as the league, it kind of does have more elite athletes within it?
100%. I think now the teams at the, you know, the bottom half of the table need to be looking at what the teams at the top half are doing, because you can't not be doing what the top athletes are doing and expect to be there and be able to compete. And that's the reality. Is, you know, your Glentorrans and your Cliftonvilles are doing the 1%ers, and you know, I would like to think that the majority of the athletes on those teams are looking after their sleep, they're looking after their nutrition, they're doing their recovery well, they're doing their strength work in the gym, and they're doing it smartly, not just going in and lifting like a bodybuilder. You know, there's a time and a place for every phase of training. And I think that as a league in general, if we want to close the gap from the top to the bottom, that S&C and that those wee 1%ers are the way to go.
Michelle, thanks for running us through that today, and thanks for taking the time to speak to us.
No problem.
Thanks.